Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and how it relates to the attachment theory. So to begin, the movie is about Miles, who is a young boy in New York City, and he's bitten by a radioactive spider, and he becomes Spider-Man. And throughout the movie, we see that he interacts with a whole different universe of Spider-Man and Spider-Woman. And this movie is especially unique in the sense that it features Miles' parents and the different connections that he has with his family. To begin, we'll talk about Ainsworth attachment styles. So we have three different types of attachment, and Mary Ainsworth built this on top of Bowley's theory. Um, so the theory was, well, the study was really done by creating a strange situation, and what this means is that there was a room, and the mother and the baby would be in that room, and uh, what was what was studied or observed was how the baby interacted um, when the mother was in the room with the stranger, with the mother alone, and with the stranger alone. And so the results vary depending on the attachment level that the baby had with the mother. And this is where we see the three different types of attachment. So we have secure attachment, and that's when the baby used the mother as a kind of a home base, and the baby was comfortable in the presence of the mother. In addition to that, we have avoidant, which really, which was when the baby did not really seek out the mother so much, and was not distressed when the mother left the room, like the secure children. And then finally, we have ambivalent children who were distressed upon departure of the mother. But when the mother came back, it seemed that the child was angry or upset at the mother. And so this is really important because well-attached children are generally more developed emotionally and socially in the future. But this isn't always the case because avoidant and ambivalent children can succeed as well. And we see that in the movie. So I'm going to talk about Miles' parents. And this is really important because Miles' parents are both first responders. His father is a police officer, and his mother is some kind of medical professional or paramedic. And this indicates that as a child, there was no specific attachment figure for Miles to securely attach to because both of them are first responders. And because they are first responders, they are almost always away at work or doing something. Um, because they are first responders, they are extremely authoritative due to the nature of their job. You know, as a police officer, his father must have been extremely strict, and they are very strict. And we see this with his father, who's a police officer. And because Miles is more of an artistic person, he's always um, kind of vandalizing or doing street art in New York, and his father is strongly against this idea. Another good example of this is when the parents both decide to send Miles to a private school, which they think is a good idea, but Miles strongly opposes this decision because he really wants to go to a public school where he knows his friends. And because there's this large divide between parents and the Miles, um, the attachment Miles is not very attached to his mother or his father. In contrast, Uncle Aaron is a strong attachment figure for Miles, even though he's not living in the same household. But he's a close figure for Miles because he lives alone and he understands his feelings and is able to relate to him. In addition, he is able to relate to Miles in a better way because he encourages Miles art making. And in fact, he actually takes Miles to a kind of a subway tunnel, and he helps Miles put up graffiti on the walls. And so, even though in the movie Uncle Aaron is considered an evil character, Miles still attaches to Uncle Aaron because Uncle Aaron is the only kind of person that really supports Miles, and Miles is able to attach to. And this really goes to show that even though um, the attachment figure might not always be in the right, as long as they're supporting the children, the child will attach to the providing figure. And so we really see the effects of this when Miles becomes Spider-Man. When he first is bitten by the radioactive spider, he struggles with the transition, and he initially calls his dad, but he very quickly hangs up before his dad can ever pick up, and instead calls Uncle Aaron for support, which goes to show that Uncle Aaron is more of a supportive figure for Miles than his dad. Um, and even when Uncle Aaron didn't pick up, Miles went ahead and went to Uncle Aaron's apartment, which just goes to show the kind of relationship that Miles had with Uncle Aaron. And Uncle Aaron's death has a greater impact on Miles than anything his parents could do, which goes to show that Miles was also very attached to Uncle Aaron. So in conclusion, the theory of attachment was supported out the movie, and I thought it was done very well. And that's why I chose the movie, because even though Miles' parents were, his biological parents, Miles ended up having a closer attachment to Uncle Aaron because Uncle Aaron showed more support from Miles throughout the movie. With Uncle Aaron, his death and his kind of motivation for Miles had a great influence on Miles to become Spider-Man and go in the right direction compared to his parents, who had a very very minimal influence on Miles. This also raises the discussion of what happens when an attachment figure disappears. Who does the child attach to next? Miles seems to reattach with his parents, who end up bonding closer with Miles and giving him a little bit more freedom in what he wants to do. For example, with his dad, who is a cop, his dad offers Miles the opportunity to go ahead and paint a wall that he legally owns instead of having to throw up graffiti illegally. It's also really difficult to categorize Miles on a specific kind of attachment level. But one thing that we do know for sure is that Miles initially did not have a very secure attachment with his parents. Rather, he had somewhere between an avoidant and an ambivalent attachment with his parents. And towards the end, we see that he slowly becomes more secure with his parents due to the death of Uncle Aaron, which also supports the kind of notion that when the primary attachment figure disappears, the next closest attachment figure ends up becoming the primary attachment figure from there on.